In this video, I'm going to be covering exactly how to fix your business loan lead quality so you can fund more deals. This video is for you if you are a business loan broker, you're a direct lender, you have multiple salespeople, and you're looking to scale your business. You're looking to generate more qualified leads that actually turn into funded deals. Now, this is the loan lead quality framework that you can use to improve your lead quality. So, in terms of some of the results and like what we're doing and why you should even listen, you don't know me, my name is Isaac Wood. I run pay per lead for business loan brokers, meaning we generate qualified and exclusive leads on a pay per lead basis. Some of our results for our clients at scale right now, we're getting 25% application rates, 50% approval rates, and 4% plus funded rates. So basically, one of every 25 leads that we generate will fund. The entire core of what we focus on is quality and then quantity, right? We're all wanting more quantity. We all want more leads. We all want to generate the most business that we can. But the first order in the operation, the bottom of the tree, the core of the business is quality. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Now, first thing that we want to talk about is what doesn't fix lead quality, right? There are a lot of folks out there who are buying ads, they're buying shared leads, which are from shared lead sources. Generally 5, 10, 20 other brokers will also get access to that lead, meaning when your team calls, you're likely going to be at the end of that list in calling and getting in touch with the business owner. Or if you are early, it's going to be a race to the bottom because they're just going to be getting hit up by so many people. Now, most other folks are leaning on aged leads. In some cases, these do convert, but it requires lots and lots and lots of outreach, lots of time, lots of effort, and really it's just a numbers game at the end of the day. And so, if you really want to be able to maximize your sales team's time, maximize your revenue, maximize like the quality of your customer, improve the quality of their experience so they continue to be, you pay to acquire the customer. You don't want to just have them turn around and be and go somewhere else the next time they need some funding. You want them to work with you consistently over and over again. So it all starts at the top and really starts with just getting that quality lead once again, right? So in talking to most business loan brokers and lenders, a lot of times they'll think, hey, I can just fix the end of my process. So that means getting more follow-up sequences or dialing those in or improving the confirmation email or just making sure that you are getting in touch with the lead within 5 minutes. And those things are very, very important. They are highly important. But if the front end is not fixed, then everything downstream is not going to matter. And let me explain this in a quick visual, right? So, you have a funnel, which is basically a fancy way of saying you have a customer journey. So from the time that they first hear of you, the time they first become aware of you, to the time they actually become a customer. So up here, they're going to be least aware. And down here, they're actually your customer, right? So up here, they're going to be a lead. So typically what happens in every process is as they move down the funnel, you're going to get leakage. So people will continue to leak out of the funnel over time. So say you get 100 leads, what typically is going to happen is, in your app, you're going to lose people. You're going to lose people in the approval process. And then you're going to, lose people from here and here to here. So from your approval to your actually funding process, right? It's just sales. In order to maximize your funding rate, you're going to need the highest quality lead. So the way that we're doing that is by increasing the quality of the business owner. We do that at the absolute top of the funnel. So that's going to be in generating the lead. And the way that we're getting awareness for these businesses is by creating advertisements. So in this case, we're going to be running ads on Meta. So that means Facebook and Instagram. So these are going to be business owners. They're scrolling through their Facebook feed, their Instagram feed during a break, after work, in between some key business objective or task. And so then they see an advertisement. They say, oh, I'm faced with a problem right now. I need to scale my business. I need to expand my space. I need to make some repairs so I can service more customers, or I need to get some working capital so I can buy a new truck, so I can, get a new team to service more customers, right? Like, the business owner needs to grow. And only way that we're going to get business owners who are looking to grow, who are actually qualified, who have revenue, who've been in business for at least a year, who have, reasonable credit, they don't have defaults, they're not super stacked in terms of their existing positions, is all going to be starting with our bait, right? The way that I like to think about it is just a basic fishing metaphor, right? So if you're standing on the pier and you have a little bit of bait, a little piece of squid, you might be catching some minnows, right? But you're fishing off the pier and you want to be catching some big, big fish. You want to be catching the giant tunas, or you want to be catching the swordfish. You're probably, first off, you're going to have to go out to the deep sea. So you're going to have to go where that sea is going to be deeper, but you're also going to have a much bigger piece of bait, right? It's going to have to be very, very specific. So if you go out there with your little minnow bait, you're not going to have any luck, right? So the same thing applies when you're looking to capture, the business owner marlins, the big tuna business owners, right? They're not going to be attracted with, hey, you've been rejected by every other bank already, like, come get money with us. Like, no, these guys have a real business. They actually are growing. They're real business owners. They need capital fast, and they need it to expand the business, to grow. They need to make payroll because they've expanded so quickly, and they have, accounts receivable that are outstanding, right? There's a lot of things that real business owners are faced with in their given day that they might need capital for. So the biggest things that you want to fix is going to be in that front end, that ad creative, right? So again, fixing confirmation scripts, your qualification calls, your follow-up sequences, that's all very, very important in the grand scheme of it. That's going to be important, from down here, and especially when you're a customer. But when you're not closing deals at least a 4% rate, if you're closing, one of every 100 leads, or, one of every couple hundred leads, you're going to have to be like finding a different place to fish, right? You don't want to be going to the same spot that 20 other fishermen are at, right? You want to go deep into the sea where you see all the birds. That's where the big fish are. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to go through a couple frameworks now to discuss exactly what we're going to do and the actions that we can take to improve the lead quality so we can get that, at least 4% funded rate. All right, so the first thing here is fixing the route. So when it comes to any sort of advertising, right, the offer is going to be the first thing that we're always looking to lean on. This is going to be a huge lever in the process. The offer is like, what is the lead or the end customer going to get in working with you? Many people mistake two concepts. They mistake, like a service and an offer. They're not the same. A service is, what do you actually do for the client, right? An offer is, what is the outcome that they can get, right? So a lender might be like, we lend money to businesses, right? An offer is, hey, we can get you up to $5 million in funding in 24 hours, right? And fixing that offer up front, that's going to be a huge lever in improving the quality of your ad. And if you don't do this, a couple things are going to happen. One, you're going to be attracting leads who are misaligned with your business, and you're going to be attracting people who are just simply like not at the stage of intent that you need. So they're going to convert at a lower rate. And so all of what we're talking about here is to get the highest intent, the highest quality like people who are on Facebook, who are on Instagram right now, get them to actually take action, get them to like become a lead in your system, become a future customer. So then you can implement your process, which then turns them into a funded deal and an actual customer. All right, so the next framework and thing that we want to fix is our messaging. So messaging is just one of those broad terms we can use in marketing, but it ultimately is, what are you saying to your customer? It is very much related to your offer. Offer is just, hey, what is the outcome? But your messaging is everything that's communicating to your customer, like how they're actually getting the offer, right? This is going to be within your ads. So this is in your ad creative. This is going to be in your actual landing page. So where they're actually going. This is going to be throughout your sales materials, meaning all your emails, your follow-ups, your sales scripts. Every touch that the customer sees is basically your messaging. And so you need to always be focused on speaking directly to your ideal customer profile. So you'll see ICP here. That's what that means. ICP is ideal customer profile. So what is that exact customer and what do they look like? Not generally business owners, right? Business owners doing at least 200K in revenue, who've been in business for at least 1 year, have a 580 minimum credit score, have no defaults, as an example, right? That's a very, very key and important thing, because if you know your ideal customer, you can speak directly to them like they're your friend, because they are. At the end of the day, we're in the business to actually help our customers grow. We wouldn't exist if we weren't actually helping them. And if you don't believe you're helping them, you should probably be in another business. When they're trying to figure this out is, hey, I don't want to remove anybody from the process unnecessarily because I want to just have the highest chance of getting a customer. I don't want to miss out on any customers. It's counterintuitive because when you're thinking about your ideal customer and you know what they look like and you know what they want and what they care about, then you can also speak against your ICP. So you can repel those who are not your customer. This is not for business owners doing less than 200K. This is not for business owners who are doing, who have been in business for less than a year, right? Because you're so specific and direct, it's going to be subconsciously observed, taken into account in the customer's head. And they're like, all right, well, if this guy is specifically saying, hey, we only work with businesses of a certain type, and I'm not that type, then I'm not going to waste my time because they're telling me straight up, like, this isn't who I'll be working with. So you want to make sure your messaging is aligned. And again, advertising, like the ad creative at the front, you need to make sure that you're focused on that as the key in this lesson, but it applies across the entire funnel, right? Going back to this example here, this is the funnel. These are your end customers. These are all the leads at the top. So you have 100 here and you have 4 that are closing here. Each step of the way, people are being removed for one reason or another, right? So one additional step in here, right? You have your ad, and then you have your landing page, and then you have your form. So these are all places where you can be manipulating, massaging your messaging. So you're speaking to business owners only doing 200K here. You're speaking to businesses only doing 200K here. You're speaking to business owners only doing 200K here as well, right? Each step of the way, it's reinforcing it. So at some point, they might get through, but because you're being so specific in your messaging, you're going to have a much greater chance of kicking out all of those bad fit people in the first place. And so in many cases, right, these people who are leaving are in fact people you want to be leaving because they're not your ideal customer. You're not going to service them as well. Your sales team doesn't want to be wasting time with people that are never going to close in the first place. And it's a much better opportunity for them to nurture and try to sell to somebody who's maybe in the middle, could be a good fit, but it's a much better chance. If you have a 50% chance of closing this person versus somebody who has a 0.01% chance, you'll take the 50% chance, the coin flip every day, right? So you're really just trying to focus on getting rid of those people who are like absolute horrible fits And that's what you're doing with your messaging. So our next framework here is fixing our funnel, right? So I've been talking about this, but one of the key things we want to do is qualify with a survey. So what does that mean? So because we only want to be working with business owners who are doing a certain amount of revenue, a certain time in business, we can filter them out on a form. So what we'll do is we'll have a form on our site. It'll kick out anybody who's not a good fit, who answers the questions improperly, or it simply just allows them to answer the questions and it just doesn't end up sending them to, our CRM or our client CRM. Instead, it just says, hey, thanks, but you're not actually a good fit to work with us. Here are some other resources that might be useful to you. That's one very important thing. Basically, what I like to say here, we're adding friction to our process on purpose. Some people are afraid of friction, and friction means like where you might lose some conversions. But the key thing to note here is we're repelling our non-ideal customer profile with our survey or with our form. So we're adding the right amount of friction with intelligent questions. Ideally, these are questions that are required for your sales team to actually close the deal, right? If you have a specific qualification framework, you want to include questions that fit within that qualification framework versus just a million questions that may or may not be useful and adding unnecessary friction. That's the key distinction. You want to add friction that will in fact get rid of the bad fits and will keep the good fits inside of your process, inside of your funnel. So going back to our funnel here again, right? We have our ad, our landing page, and then the form. So the form can be any number of questions. You can change these questions and you want to just see where people are starting to drop off. And you'll have to adjust this over time. And this can take a lot of iteration and testing, but once you have a form that's really dialed in, it improves the lead quality substantially, because those who have made it through the end, granted, like we can't prevent liars, we can't prevent people who are going to misrepresent their information, but by and large, most people who are filling these out, you've added enough friction. What friction does is it creates some intent, because you can't, when you've invested some time into something, then you're going to be much more likely to follow through with it if you've already invested time. If you have no friction and your form is non-existent, you're going to get a lot more people in there, but there's not going to be any friction. And so you're not going to remove any of the bad fits. And in many cases as well, the people who are good fits have lower intent because they haven't invested as much time into it either. So that's another really key important thing. It's the form from both a messaging perspective, from a qualification perspective, and kind of the subconscious, creating that micro commitment that just gets them a little bit more likely to continue to actually take action and stick with what they said they're going to do. Our next one is going to be pre-call clarity. So what I mean by that is answering FAQs before the call or the next step in your funnel, right? They fill out the form, and instead of just blasting them with a bunch of emails saying, hey, talk to us, book a call, give them some value. Teach them something about your process and why you're a good fit. Give them some more context around who the different types of business owners that you've helped. Share answers to frequently asked questions. That's what I mean here. The top FAQs. All of your sales material, take all of your sales transcripts. You have content that exists already. Pull that down. Look at your socials. Look at what people are commenting. Look at all of your sales emails, specifically from closed won deals. And just take a look at all of this, plug it into a Claude project, and then start asking it questions to get a sense for what are the top questions that all of our leads that turn into actual closed deals are asking. And so then you'll create FAQs. Ideally, these are going to be both written, and then you can also create video content as well. So you can include that in your email outreach. You can include it in text outreach. You can send it in DMs. You can post it on YouTube like this video is here. Like there's so many ways you can repurpose this value-based content. And so this gives clarity, it builds trust, it gets the lead to actually know a little bit more about your business and who you are. You're creating a parasocial relationship with your lead. They're starting to know you, they're starting to trust you a little bit more. You're putting your face out there. People who are bad actors are much less likely to put their face on a video and go public with it, right? People who are doing a good job, who believe in what they're doing, are the ones who are going to stand up and proudly say, hey, this is what we do and this is why we do it. Like we love working with lenders and brokers. We love helping them generate qualified, exclusive leads that actually turn to funding. We work together to continue to improve the lead quality so you can continue to make money. You can scale your budget with us so we can make a bunch of money together, right? If I didn't believe that, then I would be a faceless company, right? There's a lot of them that exist. And it's seems like they're all over the place. And so, this is just one way that you can stand out and create a more personalized customer experience, which then improves your ability to retain the customer over a long-term basis. Because once you pay to acquire the customer, you don't want them to go away. The best businesses continue to sell the same customers over and over. Preventing churn starts from before they become the customer. It starts at the beginning of the sales process. And so that's what you want to do. Just continue to reinforce all the ways in which you solve the problems, why you're different, provide context and case studies, all that good stuff. And so in terms of the funnel here, right, they've filled out the form. They're starting to get content from you now. Ads are content in itself. Ideally, they've seen an ad from you. They're probably also getting some additional content, on social. So it can be a video or it can be like a static. It really is just staying front of mind, making sure that they see you to the point where you're taking up all of their attention. The more attention you have of theirs, the better. And the more likely you are going to be getting that person to close, become your actual customer. Now, the last one here, this one is a favorite of mine, and it's simply speed to lead. Now, what is speed to lead? It is the time with which it takes for you to actually get in touch with your lead. The faster, the better. When the lead is generated and they are sent into your CRM, have your sales rep call them within 60 seconds. It shows a dialed in, a super tight sales team, sales process, and it looks highly professional. Especially when there's so many folks out there who are just spamming the shit out of you and just playing an unprofessional game. If you can get in touch with them and you can continue to provide value in the form of teaching them something, giving them context on like your business and why you're a great fit, then that persistent follow-up and that speed is going to make a massive, massive difference. If you book a call with us, we will get back to you immediately. If it's within business hours, if it's middle of the night, then it's not until the business day starts the next day. But if it's within business hours, we're going to get back to you fast, right? You're going to get emails from us. You're going to get a text from us. And we're going to make sure that you remember us, you've seen content from us, and you hop onto that call, not just a, hey, what do you do and how can you help me? You already had a sense of what we can do and how we can help. Then it just becomes a little bit more of a fit conversation because you have just more context and you've already made some decision in your head that this could already be a good fit. Track this religiously. Make sure that this is an incredibly high priority because you're paying for the leads, whether you're using a pay-per-lead provider, you're paying for the leads yourself. It's going to be included in your overall cost of acquisition. So you just really need to make sure that you're squeezing all of the juice out of that lemon. So you're leaving money on the table if you're not calling your leads back immediately. Simply just set up a Zapier in your CRM once the lead is generated. Send an email to your internal team. Set up a Slack channel. Start pinging your Slack channel every time the lead is generated with all the lead's information, their phone number, their email, context on the business. And so when you can actually call them, you have some more context and you say, hey, I know you're this type of company. This is how long you've been in business. You can navigate the conversation with a little more context versus just simply, hey, I saw you filled out our form, right? So if you do all of these 5 things, you are going to have a much better chance to not only get more leads, but also turn those leads into funded deals. Now, I've mentioned there's a lot of options out there. If you're buying shared leads, you're probably wasting a lot of time. You're probably wasting a lot of money. The leads might seem cheaper, but in time and energy wasted, in burnout from your sales team, in a lowered customer experience, it's not going to pay off in the end. You can pay for those penny leads, but also those are going to cost a lot more in terms of time and resources. And so we offer pay per lead, meaning you only pay for leads that we generate for you. When you take into account the entire cost of acquisition, it comes out to be profitable. And that's how we work with our partners to help them acquire new customers so that they can then continue to resell them and have customers for life. If that sounds interesting, click the link in the description below. You'll book a call with me. I'll hop on with you. We'll talk about exactly how we can potentially help your business after I've asked you a couple questions about your situation, what you're looking for. If it's a good fit, great. We'll talk about how to get started. If not, I'll point you in the direction of some resources that could help you. Now, that's it for the video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.